Adult Solutions. Add-on desires.
Welcome to Adult Solutions Current Affairs program. I am Venkat Sheshareddy. The first article of the day is Kaziranga Guards get satellite phones. What is the use of these satellite phones? The satellite phone will be enabling the guards to communicate when there is no other communication works that are like mobile communication or maybe land phone or etc. etc. What is the purpose of this? Why this Kaziranga National Park guards needed this? This is for the purpose of containing the poaching. What is meant by poaching? Poaching means killing animals for the purpose of hides or maybe trunks of the elephant or any other purpose. Now, if you want to contain these things, then what you have to do? You have to control any communication of the illegal people who are entering into this national park area. First of all, let me come to the point what is meant by national park. National park is an area where it is earmarked for the purpose of conserving animals or maybe the local biosphere etc. etc. Now, in this, what are the activities that are permitted? No activity or no commercial activity is permitted in this national park area. Whereas wildlife sanctuaries and conservation, you may be permitting grazing or some other activities that are collecting minor forest produce etc. can be permitted by the chief wildlife officer there who is staying there within this area. But here in the national park, no activity can be permitted. Now, this is the first of its kind in our country, that Kaziranga National Park is the first national park which get the guards satellite phones for the purpose of containing the poaching. Now, the prelims question may be asked in the form of which of the following national parks are the parks that got satellite phones for the first time in our country. Kaziranga National Park is the national park that got satellite phones for the first time in our country. And then what is this? Where is this Kaziranga National Park? Kaziranga National Park is there in state called Assam. This is northeastern states. This entire area is the northeastern state. Now here is Assam, and what is the river that is flowing in this state? The main river is Brahmaputra river that is coming from China and then entering into our country, and finally that is going into Bangladesh, and then it is meeting in the Bay of Bengal. Now here is the Kaziranga National Park. The neighbors are Arunachal Pradesh. Now recently we have seen that a state that is in conflict with Assam is Mizoram. Here is the place where they are in conflict with the concept of inner line permit. Inner line permit is a type of permit. It is somewhere it is like something related to visa, which can be easily understood. You may be confused, what is this? Even we Indians need to take visa? No, no, no. It is not as of that much, but it is somewhere related with the visa type of kind only. If any citizen of our country need to visit this place, inner line permit, then they have to take permission from the district officials, and you have to mention whenever you go there what is the purpose, how long you are going to stay, but you are not having any right to settle down. You cannot claim that under Article 19 I have the right to move to any place or maybe settle down at any place. No, there are some areas where you cannot claim this right. And then what is the importance of this area? As you can see that only means of communication or maybe only means of passage or connectivity to the other area is that Assam. Otherwise, you may have to travel all Manipur or Nagaland etc. etc. Maybe you may go anywhere, but you have to come down through Assam only. This is where Assam has tried to stop down all the necessary goods for the Mizoram. Now, this issue is being resolved by the communication or amicable solution they have tried to restore. But come to our point, Kaziranga National Park is on the banks of what is the river that is flowing here? Brahmaputra river. Now, what are the other national parks that are there here in this state? Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, Orang National Park, Holangpara, and then Dibru-Saikhowa. These are the national parks that we have in this state, Assam. And what are the animals that are protected here in this are majorly 4 big animals: elephants, one-horned rhinoceros, and then buffaloes and the tigers. Now these are the animals that are majorly focused in this area. Manas Wildlife Sanctuary is one of the most important, and I am expecting a question this year, that is pygmy hog. What is a pygmy hog? Pygmy hog is a small wild pig that is very rare species that is available in this area, and recently the number has also fall down so high, and here with UK firm Manas Wildlife Sanctuary is trying to conserve this pygmy hog, and there were only 8 of these they have let into wildlife, so to increase the number. Now try to remember, where is this Manas Wildlife Sanctuary? Manas Wildlife Sanctuary is in Assam. What is the animal that is very much important for this exam? Pygmy hog. And where is this Kaziranga National Park? Kaziranga National Park is in Assam, and it is on the banks of Brahmaputra river. Whenever we are studying something, it is very much important to read the map as well, apart from that nearby areas, important areas as well, so that only we can correlate. When we are watching through pictures, then we can be able to easily correlate with the other things. That is the reason why we have to keep observing the surrounding areas as well. Now coming to, according to Kaziranga National Park authorities, around 80% of its area has been inundated due to floods. What is meant by inundated? It will be most of the time may be submerged under the water whenever there is a flood. Now you can be able to easily understand why this is inundated. Due to it is on the banks of Brahmaputra river, and Brahmaputra we know that most of the times it will be flooding. That is the reason why it will be inundated. What is the percentage? 80% of its land is getting inundated every year due to the flooding of Brahmaputra river. And what happens due to this inundation of Kaziranga National Park? This will be affecting the life of animals in the form of loss of habitat and lack of food and other things as well. Apart from this, what is the other danger that we have in Kaziranga National Park for these animals are man-animal conflict, and apart from that, railway tracks that are running through this state or Kaziranga National Park are causing the damage to rhinoceros and elephants most of the times, because there are no good infrastructure for the purpose of animal crossing these roads or maybe railway tracks. These animal corridors need to be constructed so that we can be able to minimize this man-animal conflict. What is meant by man-animal conflict? Man-animal conflict means human development is competing with the animals' freedom or the life. That's where both of them are coming in conflict, and due to this animals are losing their life frequently, and we are thinking of or we are putting our efforts to conserve these animals by building up of different kinds of infrastructure. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985. The question can be something like this. Kaziranga, choose the right answer among the following. Kaziranga National Park is in Assam, and it is first statement. The second statement is it is a World Heritage Site, and it is on the banks of Brahmaputra river, and it is safeguarding the pygmy hog. Now statement 1, 2, 3 are correct, and statement 4 is wrong. So you will be choosing whichever the option that is containing the statement 1, 2 and 3. And then much of the focus of conservation efforts in Kaziranga are focused on its big 4 species: one-horned rhinoceros, elephant, Royal Bengal tiger, Asiatic water buffalo. There was already a question that is asked in recent times, that Asiatic sea cow, that already asked, maybe there is a possibility of asking this. Manas National Park, recently 8 captive breed pygmy hogs, the world's rarest and smallest wild pigs, were released in the Manas National Park of Assam for the purpose of increasing the number of animals. Second thing is, Tamil Nadu moves Supreme Court against NGT order on Mekedatu. Now what is this Mekedatu? That is a leap of a goat. Now here, where is this project and what is this project? Karnataka trying to build a project or a dam on Kaveri river. Kaveri river is already in dispute, and there is a water sharing principle. According to general principles of water sharing, you need to allow a certain amount of minimal ecological flow in the river for the purpose of upper riparian states and for the lower riparian states, socio-economic use as well as the ecological use. If you are using up of all the water in the river, then what happens is the lower riparian states will be dried up, and then the stream will also be dried up, the delta will be getting dried up. Due to this, there will be many ecological changes will come, and that will affect the ecology and environment of that area. That is the reason why you have to let the water flow continuously in the river, and that is the reason why you are not supposed to draw out all the entire 100% of the water. Now everybody who are there in this path of the river shall or must have this right of the river water. And then here what this Karnataka is doing, already it is using it excessively, then it is making a dam over this Kaveri river that is very close. This is a Tamil Nadu border, and it is going to make a dam that is called Mekedatu. Now there may be a question, Mekedatu project is been built, is going to be built on which of the following states? Karnataka, Assam, maybe some other states they will be giving options, or maybe there may be, the question may be asked in another format that Mekedatu is going to be built on which of the following river? Kaveri, Brahmaputra, Narmada, Tapi. Likewise, there can be a question, and it is very much important as well in the aspect of mapping. Now here is the area where it is been built on the Kaveri river. Now what is the NGT? National Green Tribunal. This tribunal means it is a quasi-judicial body. Quasi-judicial body means which is a body that is established with the help of a statute, but it is not having 100% of the legal entity that may be like Supreme Court or the High Court. This is a quasi-judicial body. This is more or less for the purpose of established for the purpose of speedy trial in a specific area. Wherever it is involved to deal with the cases of ecological importance or environment importance, then this body will be the responsible body to deal with, because this body will be having expertise of the people in that body, and they will be able to easily or speedily solve these issues, and they can be able to appeal in the Supreme Court or the higher courts. That is what it is done by Tamil Nadu in this case. Mekedatu means goat sleep. It is a deep gorge situated at the confluence of the rivers Kaveri and its tributary Arakavati. Then there may be another possible question. Match the following river and its tributary: Ganga, Yamuna, and then Krishna, Bhima, and then Kaveri, Arkavati. Likewise, they may be giving different rivers and their tributaries, and you have to match. Or they may be asking any possibility of which of the following are rightly matched. So that is the reason why we have to keep thinking or maybe writing down these things on the map as well, so that it will be making us easy. This is where current affairs are playing a very crucial role in the learning subject as well. NGT, National Green Tribunal Act 2010 is an act of the Parliament of India which enables the creation of a special tribunal to handle the expeditious disposal of the cases pertaining to environment issues. Wherever the issues that are pertaining to environment, National Green Tribunal will be dealing with this. Here another important area where pandemic has brought in. Now, an urban job safety net. We know that we have a act that is called MGNREGA, and then this MGNREGA is serving the purpose of rural employment. What is MGNREGA? Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. What is the purpose and what are the objectives of this scheme? The objectives of this scheme are, it is providing 100 days of work. And what is the kind of work? Manual work for the people whoever are applying in the local area, and material to man ratio is 80% and material is only 20% or minimal percentage of material. And then what are the type of work it will be done? It is unskilled manual labor that will be given by the government, and where you have to apply for this? In the Gram Sabha, and there are no contractors encouraged or entertained in this area where you are allowing the MGNREGA. Now, what is the purpose of that? As our country is mostly dependent upon agriculture, and agriculture employment is mostly seasonal employment, that will be having a 100 or 120 days of employment throughout the year, and rest of the time we are not having sufficient amount of work. And what are the people supposed to do during this time? The people will be migrated to somewhere else. Now, our rural population of our country is still it is 65%. Still it is more than 65% of the population are rural population. Got it? And among this, most of them, 80% of them are agriculture dependent people only, and only very few people are dependent upon the other type of economic activity. Now, if most of them are migrated to urban areas, that will be causing many socio-economic imbalances, and otherwise it will be causing a mismatch in the gender disparities at the rural areas, and at urban areas also there may be different consequences which will be leading to. Now, to avoid this, what Government of India has thought, they have brought in MGNREGA for the purpose of local employment generation, so that it can be containing the migration from rural area to urban area. What is meant by migration? Going from one place to another place for the purpose of searching a job, or maybe for the purpose of education for a longer period of time, not for 1 day or 2 days. It is not for the purpose of picnic or excursion. It is settling down there for some time, maybe for the employment or for the purpose of education. Now, there is no scheme like that in our country as a national scheme for the purpose of urban people. Now, these urban areas are the areas got affected severely due to this pandemic situation now, and this situation has pushed everybody from urban to rural migration for the purpose of employment. Now, it has seen that steep hike in the MGNREGA employment, this pandemic situation. This has led to thinking of providing urban employment on the same lines of this MGNREGA, and already there is a state that has implemented this kind of thing, that is Himachal Pradesh, and now people fell into acute poverty, like more than 90 million people have fall into acute poverty during this pandemic situation throughout the world. In our country also, it is nothing less than 30 million population has fell into or converted from middle class or upper APL to BPL, and then unemployment rate rose to nearly double digit. Even in European countries, it has rose from 7 to even 12% of unemployment rate. Given the contemporary realities, the need is to approach this from a rural-urban perspective for two reasons. First, when there is an economic shock, it is essential to provide people with a formal access to a livelihood safety net. If people lose livelihood, then that will be a catastrophic social incident, and that will be proving the disaster. Second, the livelihood safety net must have comprehensive coverage. Such a net provided by the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme exists only in rural areas. Urban India does not have any such cushion, though the Indian government operates the National Urban Livelihood Mission. This is only for the people of willing to establish any business, self-employment, and there is no labor wage scheme in the National Urban Livelihood Scheme. National Urban Livelihood Scheme, which is focusing self-employment through skill upgradation and credit linkages through banks. The scheme does not have guaranteed wage employment provisions akin to what MGNREGA provides. There are very much important areas in this. So, a few states have experimented with a wage employment based urban livelihood. Himachal Pradesh launched Mukhyamantri Shahri Ajivika Guarantee Yojana last year with the objective of enhancing livelihood security in urban areas by providing 120 days of guaranteed employment to every household at minimum wages of financial year 2021, and these are depends upon under ULB you have to register yourself, and there is a wage compensation if you are not able to provide employment in the fortnight, that is 75 per day, etc., etc., are there in this area. And Himachal Pradesh experiences has provided some crucial insights. One, an urban livelihood scheme can be launched within the existing fiscal space. If not, the union and states can provide resources together. Two, separate minimum wages for rural and urban areas do not cause migration to urban areas, since the higher cost of living in urban areas has an offsetting effect. 3, the focus must shift from asset creation to service delivery. Restricting it to asset creation or wage material ratios may be suboptimal in urban settings. The focus should be on enhancing the equality of municipal services. For such a scheme is likely like an economic vaccine. This is a new term that will be good enough if you use in essay, and will protect people against unemployment. It should be administered at the national level rather than at the state level. This is a need of the hour for the country now, as the pandemic situation has taught us many things, and we have seen people walking along the roads for hundreds of kilometers to thousands of kilometers to reach their home, and meanwhile in between many people has died on the road itself. And in the same light, as unemployment ratio is growing, now the aim is to make brand India strong, says Modi. Now Modi is urging, the Prime Minister Modi is urging India Inc., the companies of our country, to manufacture, to establish and use funds for the purpose of investment in India alone, so that it will be creating employment. The real growth will be taking a positive note, as it's been for the past 13 quarters consecutively we are experiencing a negative growth or the very low growth. This has a very bad impact on the poor people. It is always, if there is a decline in growth or if there is inflation, these two things will directly have its impact on the unskilled and the poor people, and then who will not be able to bear the burden of these economic changes that are coming in the society. And if it is the case, then below poverty line population will be rising, and this is against to our national ideals. And then here the business opportunities that are created in our country by investing in our country itself will be able to get two purpose served. One is make the India as a brand. Once upon a time we were not having many brands, but now after LPG, that is in 1991, reforms has led to creation of many brands in our country, and we are now proud of many things of our own country, and it is the time to push even further so that we will be able to generate local employment. And there is parallelly elsewhere in the world are increasing the inflation in developed countries like USA, Japan, or maybe UK. Whenever there is increase in the inflation in such countries, what happens is the investment inflow towards our country will be reduced. What is the reason? It is because very low inflation in their own countries, their interest rate will be very low. That is the reason. And our country's inflation is much higher compared to US or maybe Japan, and that is the reason our interest rates are higher than what their interest rate. If you compare between Japan and India, Japan's interest rate may be sometimes 0 to 1% or even sometimes it is negative. But whereas if Japan invests in our country, it will be giving at least 6% of interest rate per annum. For that purpose, if these countries are raising its inflation, then it will be changing its interest rate. Whenever there is a change in interest rate, increase in interest rate, then inflow of funds into our country will be affected. That is the space where we will be getting even worsely affected. So to sail through this situation, what we have to do is we have to invest in our own country so that we will be able to create employment, growth, and able to become developed nation instead of just being the developing country. Taliban could take over Kabul in 90 days, US intelligence says. What is this? Very soon US army is going to evacuate 100% from the Afghanistan. Now if this US army get evacuated from the country, what happens is a very aggressive group, that is Taliban group, is trying to take over Afghanistan by force, not by the democratic process. What is the democratic process? Democratic process is leaders getting elected by the people and from the among people itself. But here this Taliban group is forcefully implementing their own ideology on the country, so that it is going to be a threat to its own people, and as well as it will be a threat on the world as well. Biden to host democracy summit in December. What is this democracy? Democracy means of the people, for the people, and by the people only. Of the people means from people among themselves, they will be elected by the people, and what they will be doing, they will be working for the people. And when this will be successful, whenever there is 100% participation from the citizens, then only it will be a successful democracy. And whenever there is a continuous dialogue between the people and the leaders, then only it will be a successful model. Here Biden is thinking of the summit will be gather together heads of state, civil society, philanthropy and the private sector, the White House announced on the Wednesday. Now when these all people are invited and involving the democratic process, then it will be having a meaningful, enriched democratic process, and this is going to be conducted second time in December this year. Now what are the goals that it is having? Defending against authoritarianism. What is meant by authoritarianism? The leader who got elected will not be acting as a monarch, it will be just acting as a servant of the public. And fighting corruption and promoting respect for human rights. These are the major goals and ideals that they are working for. A democracy will be successful when there is a participatory democracy. Participatory democracy means there are two ways of participation. One is indirect and the other is direct participation. Where a small country like Switzerland or some other countries may be able to approach this method of direct participation, that is whenever they are making a law, they will be putting into public forum and people will be voting for this either in favor of it or against, so that in policy making directly people are involved. But whereas countries that are having a huge number of population, they will be going for the indirect election, that we are electing MLAs and MPs, those are representative of that area, and they will be making law for the people of country alone. And how this indirect participation of people will be helping the democracy? Whenever you are choosing your leader by participating or by 100% participation, then you will be making a informed choice. That is one thing. And the other type of participation is as a civil societies and as a RTI activist, and making the people who are making laws or maybe executive accountable for their actions. All these are forms of participation in the democracy that will be helping you to enrich the democracy or enable the citizen to get the services done effectively and promptly, and this will be leading to a betterment in the nation and services. Government to completely exit erstwhile PSUs. What are PSUs? Public sector undertakings are the companies that are established by the government. There are some companies, Hindustan Zinc and Balco and some other companies. Now these companies will be offloaded from the government and they will be completely handed over to private sector for the price. Now there is a word called DIPAM. DIPAM is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. This has been established under the Department of Disinvestment, which was Department of Disinvestment was there once, and that is been renamed department under the Ministry of Finance. It was renamed as Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. DIPAM means Department of Investment and Public Asset Management from 14 April 2016. And then the mandate of department is as follows: all matters relating to the management of central government investment in equity, including disinvestment of equity in central public sector undertakings, all matters relating to the sale of central government equity through offer for sale or private placement or any other mode in the erstwhile central public sector undertaking. What is meant by disinvestment? Selling of their stake in these companies is known as disinvestment. And why do we do? Because it is already enabled the private sector or the private players to deal with this capability, and government is retreating or taking away from its control so that the private players can be able to do this. And the other thing is whatever the industries or whatever the companies that are making or incurring the losses are being offloaded from the government. Thank you.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desires.